My name is Ben Booth, and this is Big Sky Voices.
And I'm Victor Wilmette with Storyteller Films, and our guests today are...
Well, we call him Jimmy C.
It's James Charleston and Ramona King.
But for example, last night we had a group of people, 10 or 15 people, that came in for a screenwriter that came in from out of state, and we read 2 hours of an entire movie. And it was really inspiring and funny and happy, and the author of it said, I've never heard my thing written. I was thinking, how significant. You have 15 people that donate 2.5 hours to do this. How did you put this together?
Actually, Sonny is the one who put it together.
Sonny's Ben's wife.
Yeah, this is something that we do on a regular basis. We have a screenwriting group here in Albuquerque that we meet every 2 weeks. And when we have a fifth Monday, we do a full feature table read of someone in the group's script. So they get a chance to hear it, they get a chance to get some feedback from a bunch of people on it, and then that way they can go in and they can make some changes to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was quite inspiring. I enjoyed it, and I can hardly sit 10 minutes in a seat without getting up and moving, but this was pretty neat.
Well, just for my take on how that feels, I wrote a song one time and this band was going to practice it, and the first time I heard them play this song, it was like my heart just jumped in my chest because somebody was actually performing something that I had written, so I could relate to what our writer felt last night in hearing her words out there for the first time.
Yeah. And Ramona, you got tagged with the part that had the most words. Was it fun for you or was it difficult?
It was actually fun.
Yeah.
I got a little twisted there with the narration, but I enjoyed doing a large segment.
Yeah, but this is the first time you'd seen it, and you talked for 2 hours. My gosh, I thought you did great, you know.
You know, Jim, I know you and Ramona aren't here to talk about somebody else's work. Why don't you tell us about what you guys are involved in now and what your projects are?
Well, we're involved with this TV series, a mini-series we call them Unredeemable.
Unredeemable.
Yeah, and it's about it's really about one woman's crusade to put an end to sexual assault. The way that things are set up right now, there's such a focus on punishment that the number of offenders that come onto the registry, the number of sexual assaults per year just keep climbing. So I figure that what we need to do is we need to model the type of behavior that would prevent these things from happening in the first place. And so that's what the series is all about.
So you're presenting this in the form of a television show?
Yes. We're looking at initially doing about 10 episodes. And we've got, it's modeled after Law & Order SVU, but it has a therapeutic focus to it instead. So instead of illegal, and one of the things that I'm adamant about is that we do not show any of the violence. So what we do is we look at a situation in a family that could lead to some kind of problem, some kind of violence. We address that in a healthy way, but and then we also show one where it looks like it's going to end up in some kind of violence, but we stop before we actually see it. So I think we all know where we go in our head, so we don't need to see that stuff anymore. So
I want to share a personal experience. It kind of connects. I had to do one of my jobs is to inspect prisons, and I was in the nation's largest prison last week, and I had to walk through this thing, and there are separation cells for areas for men and for women and whatnot, but then there are the isolation chambers where the really bad ones go. And I asked the warden, I said, how many after they get out of prison are repeat offenders? And he said, Ben, it's up in the 90% range. And so it's a little creepy to be walking through a prison and you're in the bad boys sector where each one is isolated, and they've got a little hole in the window, and they're there, right there, looking at you, and it makes you feel kind of, you don't want to get too close. You don't even want to talk to them. You're afraid something might rub off on you.
So that kind of supports Jim's point that the punishment model is not working too well.
Yeah.
Was that accurate?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the statistics, a lot of statistics look at recidivism, and recidivism is just reoffending. Okay, so they're focusing on getting the offenders not to reoffend. And I think what we ought to do is look at what circumstances allow them to offend in the first place, and then change that so that they don't offend.
So you and Ramona are using your acting and your writing skills to create a series on TV that's going to dramatically address these issues, and right, what parents should do, or
Yes.
how people should respond, or are there social things that can be done to deal with this issue, right?
Yeah, I think what's important here is that we need to model healthy interactions. We need to model healthy ways of dealing with these potential problems and prevent them from happening in the first place.
Yeah, I think I should interject here that this is a piece written not by me, but this is Jim's writing. This is he's authored it, and you have two other writers.
We've got two other writers on
Yeah.
it right now.
Yeah, I have been consulting Jim on the piece and coaching.
Yeah, Ramona has, one of the things that I did when I wrote this is I modeled the protagonist after an African American woman, and I modeled it after Ida B. Wells, who was one of the first women, African American women, to set up rape crisis support groups. And I thought it would be a really powerful piece if we could do that. And so the solo show, I actually play an African American woman in the solo show.
Oh, you do?
And Ramona was the one who
To
was
bring his
was
black
helping
woman
me.
out.
Yeah.
She was the one helping me find my inner black woman.
I've noticed you've won 4 national awards for this dramatic piece, basically, and you've performed. Tell us where you have performed. You've been all over the country, haven't you?
Yeah, we've the initial performance was in Albuquerque, and then I took it to New York, Asheville, Tucson, and San Diego, and then later on in August we'll be doing Indianapolis and St. Louis.
Nice.
Wow. You've got. Is this a brochure about it? Could you hold it up for the camera to see? Now, when will this be aired?
As far as the TV series?
Yes, sir.
Well, we're hopefully looking to shoot the pilot in October, but we do have a little bit of work to go. We got some fundraising. There's a lot of work to do this. We got to attach some folks to it, and that's how we get people interested in investing in it. So,
If people wanted to communicate with you about this, how would they get in touch with you? That you would.
they can email me if they want.
And that would be at your email address?
Yeah, it'd be at my email address, which is jimmydreams@gmail.com.
Okay.
That's JIMMEDREAMS @gmail.com.
Very good. Now, Ramona, just a side note here. I was reading in your bio that you had done some things around the country, and that. What did you do in Washington D.C. at the White House? Tell us about that story. That's curious. What was it? You and Donald Trump, or what?
No, not Donald. This is during the Clinton administration.
Yes.
I'm a storyteller, professional storyteller, and so the White House has an event every year, Easter at the White House, and I was one of the performers asked to come and perform.
Wow.
Did you
Yeah.
perform your own story, or what did you perform?
I performed a couple of folk tales.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Now, was this with Hillary and Bill Clinton
Yes.
and a group of children and parents, I guess?
Oh, it's one of those events where the White House grounds is open to the community, and so it's a really big event. It's very much like, I think there's a Christmas event that
Wow.
happens as well, but it's a really special event, and you see the Secret Service people walking through to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sure.
So you probably got some national exposure on that, didn't you?
I did.
Wow,
Yeah, yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
Well, so y'all make an interesting team for this thing that you're doing, you know,
Yeah.
and you both bring some interesting talents. But you've done some other work around the country too. Can you tell a little bit about that?
So, okay, so one, I am basically I do professional storytelling around the country, schools, festivals, etc. And I've recently picked up some work dealing with the empowerment of women's voices. I'm a strong advocate as a storyteller for the voices of children. And the goal of my work has been giving children a space and having parents understand that space through their own inner child. of their children's voices. When I did the TED Talk last year, 2016, it was Say Yes to No. And basically, as parents, we get busy, we've got our own lives, and we're moving forward and fast, and our children just follow, and we don't really hear them. And this is part of what happens to a child who is assaulted. Their parents aren't really hearing what's happening, they're not observing, and it's just the way we live. And so no is a bad word when you got to get somewhere, do something. It's like you got your child, and they've got, listen, do what I say, And so my work as a storyteller is doing time out. Let's have this moment to be with one another, to look into each other's eyes, and to hear each other's stories. Wonderful. And give your children an opportunity to hear your story as a child. And with heartfelt connections between parent and child, it decreases the number of times that we miss what they're saying, and the opportunity of assault, I believe.
All right.
I do want to bring something up about this. So I do a solo performance called On My Own, and in this performance I talk about growing up in foster care. In that story, I tell about how I came very close to being assaulted, and I believe that there is redemption. Maybe not for everyone, but there's redemption for many.
Let me talk one thing about redemption. We talked to a lot of actors, a lot of producers, a lot of writers, and we've had, I don't know how many productions we've actually touched on. I mean, some have done 60 films and some have done 10, But I always want to support something that has a redeeming purpose, a purpose for producing this that may have some positive influence. And I want to tell you, Jimmy C., I appreciate what you're doing, because it's a drop in the ocean that may have a positive impact. And so I don't know about you, Victor, but I'm honored to have both of you here today and to maybe help get the word out a little bit for you.
It's been a real pleasure, and so we're going to look forward to seeing Unredeemable up on the television screen someday soon.
Yes, thank you.
This is Big Sky Voices. You guys both are big voices for somebody out there. And,
You are, and I'm Victor Wamette saying thank you to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Victor.
Thank you.